All right, we've talked about our two different series heads, David. Now we're going to talk about chopper configuration, different setups we can do there. Before we do that, we want to talk about row independent heads. So we have our 664 and our 666 heads options. Those heads haven't been produced for a few years, but they are a valid option for picking up down corn. It works more like a conventional corn head would go on a combine, but strips the whole crop off and brings it to the machine. With that, we are able to get with snoots underneath every row. It tends to work better. If you have one, you can call us in some different configuration options for that, or if you find one, it might be something you'd be interested in. But let's talk about what we can do with the choppers, David.
Yeah, so one thing on the coder head itself, on the chopping units, there's a couple different hook options depending on which head that you have. So along with the main hookup, there's also a notch or two behind it, depending on what series you have, and that allows us to be able to hook up to that position, and allows us to drop that front end down enough to where we can get underneath of it to help pull that crop in.
That really helps getting underneath the crop, getting scooped up. Because we can't get there, we don't get the crop. The other thing we need to look at is smooth feed roll engagement. So with that, on our 7000 series choppers, we can configure it when we plug the head, which we know it's going to happen this year. We can reverse that plug out, and when we engage, we want to engage it on idle. Double click forward to engage. We can hit the yellow button on the hydro handle right below the feed roll engagement button. It'll automatically ramp the engine RPM up to full throttle and shorten the length of cut, so the engine can be at full operating speed before that crop hits the feed rolls and cutter head, so we don't plug, which is going to take a ton of stress off our operators. All right, this is how we configure smooth feed roll engagement. From our corner post, book with the wrench, down arrow till we get to SPF, enter or arrow pointing into the diamond. We hit the calibrate button, quick key to 100, up arrow to 104. The second digit is our smooth feed roll engagement. As you see on this chopper, it is not enabled. So to enable it, I hit arrow pointing in the diamond or enter. Our first digit is flashing, triangle pointing down takes us to our next key, up arrow to change it to a 1, enter to save, back button. Will enable smooth feed roll engagement. All right, so we're going to demonstrate smooth feed roll engagement from outside the cab. Engine is running, road safety switch is off. I'm going to engage my cutter head drum, and then I'm going to arm my metal detector and reverse my feed rolls. So cutter head is running, feed rolls are metal detector is armed. I'll double click feed rolls forward, and then I'll push my yellow switch, and it ramps engine RPM up and engages feed rolls at the same time. Now this option is adjustable too. We can adjust the timing of the feed rolls and then the feed roll speed too. It wants to start at a short length of cut, and then we'll go to a longer length of cut. With a slower feed roll speed, it's going to allow the engine RPM to get at full speed before the feed rolls get ramped up, so we can make sure everything is at operating speed before feed hits the cutting component, so we don't slug the machine. So if you need help getting that done, don't be afraid to call any of our technicians. They'll get forwarded to the right people to help them configure their choppers to be able to do that.